Kaode was a proud billionaire, rich, confident, and never known to say no to a challenge. So when his friends dared him to marry a fat, dirty, overly talkative billionaire's daughter, he smirked and agreed without thinking twice. What Kaode didn't know was that this bet would spin out of control and change his life in ways money could never buy. Before we go on, please show a little love by subscribing to the channel. Like the video if you enjoy the story and leave a comment. It would mean so much to me. Thank you. It was a humid evening in Victoria Island. Expensive cars cruised down the street. Laughter and music spilled from elite lounges. Inside one of the city's most exclusive rooftop bars, 3 wealthy friends lounged in leather seats, sipping champagne. Their names were Lekan, Femi, and Kaode. These 3 weren't just rich. They were part of Nigeria's most elite billionaires club. Custom suits, diamond-encrusted watches, and private jets were their normal. But beneath the polished surface, they were notorious for their reckless games. Not poker or pool, but games involving real people's hearts. Femi, always the most daring, leaned forward with a sly smile. You guys remember that politician's aide I was flirting with last month? Lekan laughed. The one who gave you a death stare at the gala? That's the one. Kaode dared me to get her number. Guess what? Not only did I get it, I took her to Zanzibar. They all burst out laughing, glasses clinking. But then, Femi's eyes drifted toward the far side of the rooftop, where a woman sat at a table with 2 other girls. She stood out, and not in the usual Lagos socialite way. She was big, round in every direction, her makeup slightly smudged, her yellow gown creased as if it had been sat in all day. Her loud laugh carried across the rooftop, the kind of laugh that turned heads. She gestured animatedly as she spoke, barely letting her friends get a word in. That, Femi said, tilting his head in her direction, is Angela Adebayo, daughter of Chief Adebayo, the oil tycoon, worth over 800 billion naira. Lekan chuckled. She's loud, and not exactly Miss World material. She's worse in person, Femi smirked. Talks nonstop. Eats like there's no tomorrow. I met her once at a charity ball, and she had a grease stain on her dress. Kaode raised an eyebrow. So, Femi leaned closer, voice dropping. So, I dare you to make her your wife. Just 6 months. You survive that, I'll give you my Bugatti and pay for your honeymoon anywhere in the world. Lekan whistled. That's extreme. Kay, don't be mad. Look at her. She's not even your type. You go for models, not, well, Angela. Kaode swirled the champagne in his glass, studying Angela from across the rooftop. She was laughing so hard now she had to dab her eyes with a tissue, lipstick smeared slightly on the corner of her mouth. She waved down a waiter and ordered what looked like her 3rd plate of pepper soup. And then she started telling the waiter a long story about her hairdresser. Loudly, Kaode smirked. Bugatti, honeymoon, and bragging rights? Femi grinned. Exactly. Just 6 months of marriage. That's it. Lekan shook his head. You won't last a week. Kaode stood up slowly, buttoning his suit jacket. Watch me. Kaode adjusted his cufflinks and strolled across the rooftop, his polished shoes tapping against the marble floor. His cologne trailed behind him, subtle yet commanding attention. Angela noticed him coming before he even reached the table. She stopped mid-story and looked him up and down twice. Well, well, she said loudly grinning. If it isn't Lagos, Mr. Perfect. You're Kaode Williams, right? The one whose face is always on magazine covers. Kaode smiled smoothly. Guilty as charged. May I join you? Angela waved at the chair like she owned the place. Why not? You're more interesting than the yam pottage my friend here just ordered. She laughed at her own joke, then immediately turned to the waiter. Please, bring him something good. You people always serve him that boring salad. Get him suya or something. Abi, Kaode, you eat suya? Kaode chuckled, a little thrown by her directness. Yes, I do. Good. Salad is for people who like to suffer, Angela declared. Then, without warning, she launched into a story about how her tailor ruined her asoebi for her cousin's wedding, complete with imitations of the tailor's voice. Kaode sat there, studying her. She was nothing like the women he dated. She spoke without a filter, waved her arms dramatically when she talked, and never seemed to pause long enough to breathe. There was a small oil stain on her sleeve, and yet she was oddly magnetic. "So," she said suddenly, leaning forward, "why are you talking to me? Be honest. I know men like you. You don't just stroll up to any woman for nothing." Keod met her gaze, his smile unshaken. "Maybe I like what I see." Angela threw her head back and laughed, loudly enough for two nearby tables to look over. "Please, I know my size is intimidating to most Lagos men. They can't handle all this package." She gestured to herself from head to toe with both hands. "But I like confidence, so keep talking." From the corner of the rooftop, Lekin and Femi watched with amusement, sipping their drinks like commentators at a boxing match. Ko didn't leave with her number that night. Angela made him work for it. Over the next few days, he accidentally showed up at events she attended, charity luncheons, her father's business award ceremony, even a friend's private birthday dinner. Angela, of course, noticed. "You again," she said one night, laughing as he offered her a seat. "Are you following me? Should I be worried?" "Maybe I'm just determined," Keod replied. She raised an eyebrow, then finally handed him her phone. "Here, put your number in. I'll save it when I feel like it. Don't call me at weird hours, please. I sleep like a queen." The next morning, Keod called. No answer. He texted, "Good morning, Angela. I enjoyed our chat yesterday." Nothing. That evening, he called again. This time, she picked up. "Aha, Keod, don't you have work? You've called me twice in one day. What's the rush?" "I'd like to take you out to lunch this weekend," he said smoothly. "Lunch? Is it my birthday?" she teased. Then, after a long pause, fine. But it has to be somewhere good. I don't like those places where they give you tiny food and call it fine dining." On the day of their first date, Keod booked one of the most luxurious private dining rooms in a high-end restaurant. The lighting was warm, soft music played, and a waiter stood ready at the door. Angela swept in wearing a bright green gown that shimmered under the light. Her hair was styled in big curls, and she wore bold red lipstick. She also carried a handbag, so large it looked like it could hold a week's worth of groceries. "Wow," Keod said as he stood to greet her. "You look amazing." "I know," she said without missing a beat, sitting down and immediately picking up the menu. "Do they have pepper soup here? I don't like places that don't serve pepper soup." Keod laughed. "They do." "Good. And please don't try to impress me with salad. I came to eat." She ordered pepper soup, grilled fish, jollof rice, plantain, and a cocktail, and began telling a long story about her driver getting lost on the way. Keod mostly listened, occasionally nodding or chuckling. She didn't need him to fill silences. In fact, there were no silences to fill. But somewhere between her loud laughter and her unbothered attitude, Keod felt something unexpected, curiosity. After their first date, Keod decided he would go all in. Lavish gifts, expensive experiences, anything to get Angela hooked. He sent a brand new iPhone to her house the next day. She called him, not to thank him, but to say, "Ah, Keod, you didn't even ask me what color I like. I prefer gold. This one is nice, Shah, but next time gold." He laughed. Noted. He took her to private boat cruises, top salons, movie premieres, and polo tournaments. At each event, Angela made an entrance, talking loudly, greeting everyone like they were old friends, and eating without a shred of self-consciousness. She would sometimes interrupt him mid-sentence to tell a waiter to add more pepper, or to start telling a completely unrelated story. Keod noticed something strange. None of this turned him off. If anything, he found himself entertained. Still, there were moments that tested him. Like the time they went to a 5-star restaurant and Angela loudly complained that the portions were child size, then called the chef over to explain why a 50,000 Nigerian Nairas plate should be at least the size of a DSTV dish. Or when she made him wait 25 minutes in his own car while she finished a phone call with her cousin about Asawabi fabric. Yet somehow, every time he thought about walking away, the image of her big smile and unapologetic presence pulled him back in. One night, after a long day of events, Keod took her to a rooftop restaurant. The Lagos skyline twinkled beneath them. Angela was halfway through a story about a fight she witnessed between two women in a supermarket when she suddenly stopped and narrowed her eyes at him. "Keod, Why do you keep taking me to all these fancy places? Is this some kind of PR thing? Are you trying to make people talk? He paused, swirling his wine. Maybe I just enjoy spending time with you. She studied him for a moment, then shrugged. I'm okay, but don't think you can buy me. My father's richer than you know. Keod smiled. Noted again. Over the next few weeks, Angela surprised him. She wasn't impressed by every gift. Sometimes she left expensive handbags in their boxes for days. When he arranged for a private driver, she insisted on still using her father's driver because he knows where to buy the good roasted corn. And slowly, without meaning to, Keod started doing things he'd never done before. He stopped going to clubs with Lekin and Femi. He started calling Angela just to talk, not to impress. He listened to her ramble about her aunt's neighbor's dog. He even found himself sitting in her father's massive dining room, eating umla while she argued with her brothers over who got the biggest piece of goat meat. Lekin noticed. Guy, this is getting weird, he said one afternoon. You were supposed to marry her for 6 months and collect your winnings. Now you're acting like her boyfriend for real. Keod brushed it off. Relax. I know what I'm doing. But deep down, he wasn't sure anymore. One evening, after a high society charity ball, Angela caught him glancing at a slim, elegant woman in a silver dress. Aha, Keod, she said, her tone suddenly sharp. Did you just look at that girl? He tried to laugh it off. You're imagining things. Angela folded her arms. I might talk a lot, but I see everything. Don't disrespect me. She barely spoke for the rest of the night. When he dropped her off, she turned to him and said simply, I think I need space. It was the first time she'd been quiet for more than 5 minutes. And for reasons he couldn't explain, it rattled him more than he expected. The next day, Keod didn't hear from Angela. Or the day after that. By the 3rd day, he caved and called her. Her voice was distant. I'm busy. With what? Life. Click. She hung up. Keod wasn't used to chasing women. They usually chased him. But here he was, sending flowers, voice notes, and even a comically large teddy bear to her gate. She sent the teddy bear back with a note. Keod, I'm not one of your Instagram models. If you want to be with me, be serious. It stung. Not because of pride. Okay, partly pride, but because she'd read him so clearly. Lekin and Femi noticed his restlessness. This is why you don't mix business with pleasure, Femi warned. We said 6 months for the bet. Not 6 years. Just finish the job, collect your winnings, and bounce, Lekin added. Keod nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. The bet had started as a joke, an ego boost. Now, every time he pictured walking away, he saw Angela's loud laugh, her messy braids, the way she made even awkward moments feel alive. And it bothered him. One Friday evening, he decided to confront her. He showed up unannounced at her father's mansion. The guards hesitated. Angela had told them not to let him in. But he slipped them a thick envelope and drove through. She was in the garden, wearing a big, colorful wrapper and drinking Zobo. Keod, she said flatly, you're not supposed to be here. I came to talk. There's nothing to talk about. She sipped her drink. Angela, he stopped, unsure how to finish. How could he explain that what started as a dare was now not a dare anymore? She laughed, but it wasn't her usual laugh. Do you know what my problem with you is? You think life is a game. People's feelings are not bets, Keod. His stomach tightened. Who told you? Please, she cut in. You think I don't know? My cousin overheard your friends bragging in a club. 6 months and you walk away a millionaire. Keod froze. Angela stood up, wrapper swaying, and walked toward the house. She turned back just once. You have 3 months left. Use them well if you still care to try. That night, Keod sat in his penthouse, staring at the city lights. For the first time since the bet began, he wasn't thinking about the money. He was thinking about the woman who had just declared quiet war on his heart. Keod woke up the next morning with a plan. If Angela thought he was just playing a game, he'd show her he could be serious. He started small, calling her without an agenda, listening instead of talking, showing up for family gatherings without the usual designer drama. He even sat through a 2-hour church service with her mother, where the pastor preached about humility and love. Angela didn't warm up immediately. Sometimes she ignored his calls, Sometimes she answered but spoke in clipped sentences. Still, she noticed the changes. Like the time her car broke down and Ko drove across town just to pick her up. No chauffeur, no assistant, just him. Or when he canceled a big networking dinner to stay with her when she caught a fever. One afternoon, she asked him to accompany her to a charity event at a children's hospital. You can come if you promise not to be on your phone every 5 seconds, she said, raising an eyebrow. He smirked. Deal. That day, Ko watched Angela differently. She didn't just pose for photos like most socialites he knew. She knelt to talk to the children, wiped one boy's runny nose with her own handkerchief, and made the nurses laugh with her dramatic storytelling. For the first time, Ko saw past the loud voice, the sharp tongue, the chaotic energy. He saw her heart. That night, over suya on the back of his car, Angela turned to him and said, "You're not as shallow as I thought." "Wow," he said, pretending to be offended. She grinned. "Don't get used to the compliments. I still don't trust you completely." He laughed, but something in his chest tightened, because he realized he wanted her trust. More than the money, more than the bragging rights. 2 months left. Lekin kept reminding him, "Time is running, my guy. Don't get carried away." But Kaod was carried away. He found himself missing Angela when she wasn't around, smiling at random texts from her, and looking forward to the next time she'd tease him in front of strangers. The bet was starting to feel like the smallest part of the whole thing, but it was still there, ticking in the background like a time bomb. One evening, as they drove back from a family dinner, Angela said softly, "Kaod, do you ever feel like some things are too good to last?" He glanced at her. "Why?" She didn't answer. She just stared out the window, her reflection flickering in the glass. And for the first time, Kaod felt real fear. Not of losing the bet, but of losing her. The bet's deadline was 2 weeks away. Kaod hadn't told Angela. He wasn't sure how or if he even should. But the weight of it pressed on him with every passing day. One Friday night, Lekin called. "Big man, the boys are ready. 2 weeks, you cash out. We throw the biggest party of the year. Don't tell me you've forgotten." "I haven't forgotten," Kaod said quietly. "You sound soft. Remember, you did this for the thrill. Don't ruin it now." But after the call, Kaod couldn't sleep. He sat in his living room, staring at Angela's photo on his phone, a candid one he'd taken at the children's hospital. She was laughing with her whole face, hair messy, wrapper crooked, holding a kid's hand. The next day, Angela invited him over for lunch. Her father, Chief Ajayi, was there, stern, commanding, but warmer toward Kaod than usual. Over pepper soup, the chief said, "You've been good to my daughter. I hope this is the start of something serious." Kaod swallowed hard. "It is, sir." Angela smiled faintly. She believed him, and that made his chest ache even more. But secrets have a way of spilling. That night, Angela's cousin, the same one who'd overheard the bet months ago, decided she'd had enough. She confronted Kaod in front of Angela at a small family gathering. "So," the cousin said loudly, "how much are they paying you when you win this bet?" "Enough to cover your next Ferrari." The room went silent. Angela froze, her eyes darting between her cousin and Kaod. "What is she talking about?" Kaod opened his mouth, but no words came. Her cousin laughed bitterly. "Oh, he didn't tell you? He married you on a dare. 6 months. Win, and he collects from his friends." Angela stood up slowly. "Kaod, is that true?" He tried to step closer. "Angela, please." "Yes or no?" Her voice cracked. "Yes," he whispered. "But it's not what it." She didn't let him finish. She grabbed her bag and walked out, her heels clicking against the marble floor like gunshots. For 3 days, Kaod didn't hear from her. He called, texted, even went to her gate, but the guards turned him away. Lekin and Femi tried to cheer him up, but he wanted nothing to do with them. On the 4th day, a letter arrived at his apartment. No return address, just 2 sentences inside. "You win. Congratulations. I hope it was worth it." Kaod sat at his dining table, reading those words over and over until they blurred. The money meant nothing now. The bet felt like a curse. And for the first time in his life, the man who had always had everything realized he had just lost the one thing he couldn't buy back. 3 months passed. Keod had stopped going to the club, stopped answering Lekin's calls, stopped showing up at the flashy parties where his name once meant instant attention. The money from the bet sat untouched in his account, a reminder of the stupidest thing he had ever done. He tried, once, to go to Angela's office. Her secretary told him politely that she wasn't available. He waited in the parking lot for 2 hours before leaving, realizing she might have left through the back just to avoid him. One evening, his mother came to visit. She'd always liked Angela, even in the beginning when she called her too loud for my taste. Now, she looked at her son with disappointment. You let a good woman walk away because of pride and foolish games, she said. Keod stared at the floor. It wasn't pride, Mama. It was fear. I didn't know I'd fall for her until it was too late. Then go and fix it, his mother replied. Before it's later still. A week later, fate intervened. Keod was at a fundraiser for an orphanage when he saw her across the hall. Angela was in a simple blue dress, her hair tied back, smiling politely as people greeted her. She looked the same, but also different. Stronger. He walked over slowly, rehearsing the words in his head. Angela, he said softly. She turned, her expression unreadable. Keod. I'm not here to make excuses, he began. I just want to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of it. The bet, the lies, all of it. I'd give the money back 100 times if it meant I could undo what I did to you. She was quiet for a long moment. I don't want your money, Keod. I never did. All I ever wanted was honesty. I know, he said, his voice breaking. And I failed. A waiter passed, and she stepped aside. Take care of yourself, she said simply, before walking away. He watched her go, knowing this might be the last time he ever saw her. Months later, gossip blogs would write about Angela's new business ventures, her charity work, and her growing public image as a strong, independent woman. They wouldn't mention Keod, and he preferred it that way, because some stories are better left untold, except to the man who has to live with them every day. And so, the man who once took a bet for fun learned the hardest truth of all. You can win the game, and still lose everything that matters.